Well, good morning. Just want to take you on a quick tour of the new framed-in lower level of our new building. But before we do that, I would like to encourage us with something, kind of like when you're watching the evening news. If you do that, you know how they drop little hints of the special interview that's coming up, some really interesting news, and they keep on putting you off and waiting for you to watch all the other news before they keep you on the hook for the interesting thing. Maybe that's sort of what I'm doing, except it's different in that you can just skip ahead if you want to and see the tour. But I hope you won't do that. I just want to ask a question of you. Why are we trying to build a new building? Is it because we're cramped? We need more space? We're really tired of the whole two-service thing? Are we annoyed that our needs aren't being met? If only we could have a new building, and then all the things that are annoying to me would be taken care of, and my children would have a better program. For those of you that were a part of the church's inception, I know that wasn't your mindset. You had the mindset of Christ. You clearly didn't join the church because it had all these facilities and programs for you and your parents and your children and your neighbors and all of these things. Rather, all you had to do was enjoy hot school, uncomfortable chairs, sweat in the summers. There wasn't a youth group. There wasn't a nice, comfortable building. You actually had to bring in and set up all the stuff to even have church, to even have what little children's ministries you had. There wasn't a spirit of entitlement, but rather there was a spirit of sacrifice. And that is really the mind of Christ. Your thought was what Philippians 2 tells us about Christ himself. He encourages the believers, do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others. I'd encourage us, as we look toward this new building, that we not think of it as the answer to all of the needs that we have and the things that we think are important, but rather we should be thinking about it as a tool to accomplish the mission that God has given us here, and that is to more effectively make and mature more disciples of Christ in our own town and in our surrounding community. Who are we building this building for? God is our primary audience. We want the entire process of planning as well as the finished product itself to make him bigger in the eyes of everybody. And to our own congregation, many of you, we want to use this building to be able to worship all together and also to be able to disciple one another more effectively. And to our community, we want to present a structure that reflects God's beauty and really calls to mind God and his purposes. So I want to encourage us with that and look forward with anticipation toward this new building, not as something that answers all of our problems, but rather as a tool to accomplish the mission that God has given us. So let's go look at the building. So here we're coming down to the lower entrance, where I think a lot of us will be entering off of the larger parking lot that's out there. And I want to take you in through this way, as it'll be a common entrance for us. All right, so we'll come down here. This area is going to be a little bit of an indent in the parking lot where you can have a pull-off lane which is pretty sizable, to drop off anybody you need to in here. And here we're going to have an airlock, 2 sets of double doors as you enter. And so as you come in here, immediately to your left, you'll notice a nice stairway heading up with a large couple of windows up there. It'd be really nice to have that, as well as a egress door. As you come in, you'll notice to the right immediately is your nursery and 2s and 3s classrooms. And so this is not a large set of double doors for entering the nursery, of course. Rather, it's some form of a custom passway through where we'll be able to securely pass along all the belongings that the little ones sometimes have. And rather, they'll be entering here a Dutch door to pass your child through. And also here in the nursery, we'll have a sink and also a room back here for mothers and a quiet room for children if need be. And here's your 2s and 3s as well, which also has even more plumbing, a small child-sized restroom so that they can stay in this space for their whole time. And then across the hall, you've got, just like upstairs, got a couple of restrooms here. And right here is your handicap lift. And then as you enter this section, it's a couple of, it's 4 different classrooms. And so really nice sized classrooms, indents here. So it's a nice entrance into some large classrooms. Over here, this is a classroom, except you'll notice that wall is on the ground. That didn't just fall over. That was placed in, and a little bit of a mistake on interpreting the plans on an accordion door that we're not going to install at this point, but Lord willing in the future we'll have an accordion wall here so that we can still use the space as a classroom, but then also be able to open up our fellowship space. So beginning when we move into the building, this won't have a wall, so we'll be able to maximize as much as we can initially with this fellowship space. And so this massive beam here, it goes the length of this, so we don't have to have any columns in the middle of our fellowship space. And so coming through here, you've got a nice large window. That'll be, I think, 3 separate windows, and exit right out on grade at this end of the building. Also another set of stairs that goes up to the platform baptistry area, which is really helpful to have that level of access. And then right here you've got a sizable storage room for all the chairs and tables that we'll be using. And beyond that is our utility space for utilities. And down here's a hallway down to another door exiting. And right here is our kitchen. And this is really handy. You can even drop off food or have some catering done and be able to enter somewhat privately there. And here's a serving window right off of the kitchen. Really looking forward to having a little bit more space. This is another one of our 4 classrooms on this side of the building. And you'll notice as I enter here, there's already a door over here to enter. And the idea that was planned here is that for fellowships, perhaps we could set up some tables in here and come in, grab our food, and exit back out into the fellowship space to be able to use that. But hopefully this quick tour gives you a good idea of the lay of the land down here on the lower level. I'm really looking forward to being able to use this to serve one another well.